the story of David and Goliath. Saul was king, but he kept disobeying God. So God asked Samuel to find a new king. God said to Samuel, "Go to Bethlehem, and there is a man called Jesse. He has 8 sons. One of them will be the next king." When Samuel first met the sons, he thought the oldest son, named Eliab, would be the king that God had chosen. But the Lord said, "Eliab, there is not the one I have chosen. The way he looks doesn't matter to me. I look at the heart." Jesse brought more of his sons to meet Samuel, but none of them were chosen. Samuel asked Jesse, "Have I met all your sons?" Jesse replied, "I have one son left, named David. He's the youngest and out one looking after the sheep. I will bring him here to meet you." As soon as Samuel saw him, God spoke to him and said, "He is the one." So Samuel anointed him with oil, which was a special way of promising him that he would be the next king. And from that day on, the power of the Lord was with David. David continued to take care of his father's sheep in the fields, and when not busy, he played instruments and wrote songs and poems that you can find in the book of Psalms in your Bible. Meanwhile, Saul was still king, and he ruled people called Israelites. David and his family were Israelites too. The Israelites weren't getting along with people named the Philistines. The problem with the Philistines was that they had many giants living in their land. One of the strongest and biggest giants was called Goliath. He was over 9 feet tall, which is taller than any person recorded in Guinness World Records. Goliath was covered with armor to protect him and carried a big spear. For 40 days he shouted to the Israelites in his big deep voice, "Hey, you guys, I dare you to find one man to fight me. If he can beat me, we will become your servants. But if I win, you will all become our servants." When Saul and his men heard this, they were very afraid. 3 of these men were David's oldest brothers, the only ones in David's family that could go fight because they were old enough. David's father, Jesse, heard about the giant and was worried for his sons. He called David out of the battlefields and asked him to take some food to his brothers and report back how they were doing. David set off to visit his brother. As he got near, heard Goliath shouting his challenge like he did every morning. David asked the men in the army, "Isn't someone going to stand up for this man?" They were all too afraid to do so. "Then I will fight the giant Philistine," said David. One of the soldiers overheard this. He ran and told Saul what David had said. Saul approached David and said, "You can't fight Goliath. You're only a boy, and he has been fighting for many years." But David said to Saul, "I had to fight lions and bears to protect my father's sheep. God helped keep me safe then, and he will keep me safe now." Saul, the king, wasn't trusting God to help him. He didn't know what to do to beat Goliath, but his young boy named David knew exactly what to do and trusted that God would help him. That's why God loved David's heart and wanted to be a king. So Saul dressed David in a heavy armor to protect him from Goliath, and David took it off. It was too heavy. He could hardly walk, and he knew that God would keep him from harm. Instead, David went on a stream nearby and found 5 small stones, put them in a pouch and around his waist, and he with his sling, he went to Goliath. As David approached, Goliath looked at him and thought it was a joke. Goliath thought that he could easily beat David, and it was funny that Saul would send a small boy to fight him. But David said to him without fear, You fight with a sword, and I come with God on my side. And today everyone will know that there is one true God in this land. Goliath don't care what David said, and he moved closer to attack him. David ran quickly to meet him. Reaching into his pouch, he pulled out a stone, put it into a slingshot, and shot it at Goliath. The stone had hit him right between his eyes, and Goliath lost his balance. He fell with a loud thud right on his face. David had done it. He beat the giant Philistine. When the rest of the Philistines saw this, they ran away, and David became a hero to all the people in Israel. And that was the story of David and Goliath.